Obtaining a diagram in third normal form, it's not the only thing that you can do to improve the design of a database. So there are many other issues that you need to take in account, and most of them we discussed in the previous chapters. Now we'll just quickly go through the checklist to see how our diagram can be further improved based on these elements. So one issue is to evaluate the primary key assignments, and related to this is how surrogate keys are used. And if we look at the diagram that was obtained, you can see that we have here job classification, which is a name. It's a database designer, or things like this. And this is not so good as a primary key. So for this reason, a better idea is to create a surrogate primary key that will be job code, and use that job code in further improvement. Classification will be like the job name, and then we'll have the amount charged per hour for that particular job. So this is one of the issues that we can address related to the primary key. The other primary keys are codes, so they don't need any further improvement. Now, the naming conventions. For the project, the attributes are good. For the employee, it's good. Also here we'll have the job code now. And for the job table, it's not, because the charge per hour does not start with job. So here we need to have job charge per hour. So, and for the last table, again, we have the correct naming convention, because we change the hours in assigned hours. So here the naming convention is correct now. We change during the design. Now another issue will be to define the attribute atomicity, and here we still have to work, because we have for instance employee name, and we know that this is not a simple attribute, so we'll be able to further decompose in last name, first name, and middle initial. Therefore, we will obtain more detailed description of the employee. Now, another issue will be to identify new attributes, which are not in the diagram, but which are necessary in our problem. And here we may have new attributes related to the employee, will be like hiring date, related to the project start date and date. So related to the assignment is if it's active or if it's closed, if no longer the employee worked for that project. So we may have various new attributes that might be necessary in this diagram. Next, to identify relationships and define the primary keys. We may think if we want to maintain a historical accuracy, and let's study this historical accuracy because here what can change. For instance, for a job class, the charge per hour may change, and therefore the projects that that were already paid were paid with a given charge per hour, the new project will be paid with a new charge per hour. And this is not good because we don't keep in the table the exact amount paid. So one idea is to keep a historical archive of all the actual data used that will contain some redundant information at the beginning, but then as various values will change, will no longer contain redundant information. A more complex diagram will be obtained if we decide to keep the historical data. Now, if we want to use derived attributes, we need to analyze them and see if they are really necessary. In this particular case, we don't have such a situation. So based on all this discussion, our employee table, for instance, will have a new format. We'll have now the employee table with number, last name, first name, middle initial, hire date, and job code, not job classification. This is a new surrogate key that was created. And this will be the data of the table from our initial discussion.